And how does it feel to be a member of the College Football Hall of Fame?
Oh, great. Feels really good. I mean, considering how many kids play this game and how many guys actually have a chance to make it. And being selected as one of those guys is truly an honor.
What's Morgantown look like to you now? It's changed over the years?
Oh, it's changed a whole lot. When I first got here, there was what? There was a McDonald's, a Hardee's, and there wasn't anything that's over here up at the Mile Ground. I mean, not the Mile Ground, but over at by the Med Center. There was a lot of stuff that wasn't there. So it's changed a lot.
Talk about college career here at West Virginia. Go back, hard to believe, I was in Fulton County Stadium 30 years ago in 1981 when the Mountaineers knocked off Florida in the Peach Bowl. Talk about a little bit about that game and what it meant to the program.
I think that was the turning moment. I mean, because here we are, we're a little bitty old West Virginia from the east, and we're going to go down and take on big bad Florida. Florida had a huge team, a tremendous team, a lot of guys who went to the NFL. We came in, played them on a rainy, muddy field with our mud turtle, Mickey Walzak. I remember like it was yesterday, and we challenged Keith Jones to take on David Galloway. And Galloway, we had teased him all week about how Galloway was going to beat him to death and everything. Keith went out and had himself one heck of a day against David Galloway. And we, as it turned out, had us a pretty good day against a very good Florida team.
What does it mean to you to see all your former teammates come back?
It's truly an honor. I mean, some of these guys you've blood and sweat with for years, and when you haven't seen them in a while, then you get a chance to see them. It really makes you feel good inside because, hey, we're all still above ground.
What have you been up to since football?
Since football, let's see. I bought a traffic control company in Florida. I live in Orlando. My office is in Lakeland, which is about an hour away, so unlike everybody else, mine isn't right around the corner. I get up and drive like everybody else and deal with the commute in the morning. I bought a traffic control company. I was running it for about 12 years now, and I'm also a federal contractor trying to do work in the federal government.
Could you talk about, the uniqueness of the relationship that you guys have and how, in terms of the Buffalo Bills teammates, and how maybe that isn't really going on anymore in professional sports with free agency and that sort of thing?
Well, I don't think it's going on because I don't think, number one, it takes a special group of guys to have that type of camaraderie. I called this the misfit toys from Christmas because we were all supposed to be doing something else. We weren't supposed to be able to play. We weren't supposed to be able to do a lot of things. But we all had one common thread. We all were, I would just say, blue-collar guys that worked really hard for everything we got. And we wouldn't let one another fail. We would always stay on the other person that's why they called us the bickering Bills at one time, because if somebody screwed up and you thought you should get more out of them, we went and got in your face and told you, hey, no, that's not acceptable. You need to do this. We are counting on you.
Cornelius Bennett was just talking about how smart of a football player you were, and he said it was a surprise to him that you didn't end up being a coach. Did you ever consider that?
Well, I've considered it, but the thing of it was I wanted to see my kids grow up. My parents were there for me, and I could not just not be there, because being a coach is a full-time job, and it's more than a lot of people think. It's like 16, 18 hours a day, and you got to be dedicated to what you're doing. And you can't do that and be dedicated to your kids and your family at the same time, I didn't think. So I stayed around. I didn't. I stayed home with my kids, and now that my youngest is in school at Virginia Tech, where I got to listen to Bruce, but now I think I want to go in and try and get into coaching. I think that I have something to give to guys. I have a knack for teaching them something that I don't think that's being taught anymore, which is called technique. I don't think that a lot of the guys understand what it takes to be a pro. You don't just get paid a check. It's a way in which you carry yourself, and it's a way in which you have to act.
What level would you like to coach at?
I'd like to do it in the NFL, but college I'll do that as well. It does, right now I'm just looking at it, deciding about where I want to get in, and if I can get in and try it.
Darryl, you came in here 150 pounds soaking wet.
You're right, with 5-pound plates in each pocket.
And came out of here as a consensus All-American. Talk about your experience at West Virginia University and what it meant to you.
My experience at West Virginia University goes through light years. I mean, you take a little skinny kid from East Cleveland, comes in, 146 pounds when I left high school, got here, I was probably about 155. I grew from 6'1" to 6'4". I learned how to play the game. I learned through being taught technique, what to do, and the rest of it seems like a blur, because I could tell you stories about things that I've had done to me, and tape that I had put on the wall for me to hit so that I keep my head low. So it was just all kind of things that I've gone through. What else can you say? You learn how to run through heat waves. It's the first time I ever seen heat waves come off the field. I mean, when I first got here, we were over at the snake pit, and you'd be running, and the heat waves were taller than you were. They were 12, 13 foot high, and they used to take this little barometer thing and run it around and tell you, no, it's time for a water break. And we were on the turf, so you learned how to combat the heat. You learned so many life lessons. You learned how to be a young adult. You learned what was to be responsible and what was going to be expected of you. So there's a lot of things that went on while I was here. I mean, just truly a great experience, I think.
What kind of an impact did Don Nealon have on you?
Coach Nealon was kind of funny to me. I mean, when I came in, because I looked at him when he first got here, and we were having a meeting downstairs in Towers. And it was when his first meeting, and we had a bunch of the old upperclassmen sitting there with their feet on the back of chairs and stuff like that. They were sitting there. He came in, told them, get your feet off the chairs. And all right, first thing I want to tell you guys is all you guys are my guys. I know I didn't recruit you, but all you guys are my guys now. And we're going to be good. And I sat there and I looked, I went, this man's crazy. I looked at him and I looked, and he said that, we were his guys, and you sat there, and the more you're around him, the more he started to tell you, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have to build to get there. You, which is what he told me, you need to lift weights to get you stronger so that you can play against the bigger guys. And I used to slack on lifting the weights and stuff like that. Until my senior year came around, he essentially stood on me and told me, you're going to be in the weight room this year. And I got in and panned out.
Did you envision where the program would go? When you got here, the stadium was falling down.
That was part of it.
Good. Yeah.
We weren't very good, but there was one thing that intrigued me about being in West Virginia, and that was that there were a bunch of guys from my area that were already here. So it wasn't like I was going to be a fish out of water, like I was going from here to Iowa. I'm not going to do that. There were a bunch of guys from the Cleveland area already here, and then coming into my class, there was a bunch of guys that came in, and then after that, we had a steady contingency from guys from Ohio. So, we had a lot of things that we could relate to one another about, and that's essentially why I was here.
Did you see where the program was going that early? Were you smart enough to figure out that new stadium, new coach, you guys would get to where you got to pretty quickly? Well,
no, the thing is, when we first got here, we were in the Snake Pit, which I thought was one of the best stadiums in the world. Because anytime a fan can reach over and touch you on the back of the head, it's pretty close. And that place I was here when we played Pitt down there, and Pitt beat us, but you talking about roar, you couldn't hear yourself think. And I like that. And then they used the recruiting tool that we're building a new stadium, we're going to have a new stadium, and they showed you the stadium. Now that stadium has been changed, I think, 3 times to where it is now. It's a state-of-the-art. It's truly a very, very nice facility.
Speak of the quarterback of that team, could you ever envision him being the athletic director at this university back then?
Back then, no, but here's a funny one for you. We had a history class that we were taking. And I go to class, I'm sitting in class, I'm sitting there. All of them come in, check in the first day, looked around. Then he didn't come back. Came back on test day, took the test, got an 8. Okay, go away again, go to class, I'm going to class, going to class. Don't see no other, maybe once in a while. And all of a sudden, test time comes. Oh, he gets another 8. I'm like, hey, that's boy, you're smart as outdoors. I'm sitting there going, and I couldn't even imagine him being the AD back then, no, because we had a lot of fun. That's all.
Cleveland guys.